Hello, good morning, friends, and my dear colleagues, as well as the dignitaries. My name is Girish, and I'm an assistant professor working in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at SNS institutions. And today, I'm excited here to share about the SNS journey from frustration to innovation. So, this is actually a story of how our institution transformed or took changes or has actually evolved from a previous kind of thing. Let us just see how the particular thing goes. So, from frustration to innovation, the story of how our institution transformed challenges into opportunities. So, frustrations into innovations and build a thriving culture powered by design thinking and artificial intelligence. So, let us just see how the particular evolution goes from there. So, let us just come to the next slide where you can see about the session plan. So, when you talk about the spark, so if suppose it actually all began with the sparks. Every time you know that there has to be a spark within us whenever the ignition starts. So when the ignition is actually provided to that, then you can see that it all began with a simple but powerful thought. This makes no sense. So that moment of frustration became the spark for change. Instead of accepting things as they were, SNS team asked what if we could build some common sense into our system, and that question becomes our mission to reimagine education and management with logic, empathy, and innovation at the core. So the discovery parts. Let us just talk about how the particular thing goes. So we have a building of culture. So a culture is actually built upon how the particular things are going, or how the particular students are being taught, or how we need to go along with the plan of content. So then we actually see for the system of growth. System for growth are actually, we have various amount of things which are actually kept for development. For example, if you just see transformational change, suppose there is a pupa kind of thing. If suppose there is a butterfly undergoes many such kind of stages till unless where it comes to the final kind of level. So here what we actually plan to try or plan to talk is nothing but system for growth. So here when a person enters in from after his +2, when he comes into after the college, he comes into a professional engineering kind of course, he just plans or drives through the result through which the systems are being taken into it. So we actually have various kind of things which are actually planned with these kind of things. So we have discovering the frame activity. We have a building culture over here. System for growth is there. Then driving results through system. Then vision and reflection. Okay. Let us just see with the system of plan. And right now we can just see that if suppose the spark. So when we talk about the spark is actually we thought about how the mission can be reimagined or rephrased. That is how a simple question actually, which was actually like does not make any sense, but it actually made some sense when we thought about how our reimagining our education, our management with logic, empathy, and innovation at the core started off. So we can just see how the particular thing goes as such. So from frustration to innovation. So from frustration to innovation, if you just see, it all began with a simple thought. This makes no sense, but making some amount of sense with regard to those kind of things is actually visualizing suppose you imagine a light bulb breaking into colorful gears, symbolizing ideas from the frustration. So any particular person who is actually frustrated or other kind of things should have some amount of ideas when it can be accepted into many kind of things. Then search for a better way. The search for a better way actually thought about how we can actually do things apart from the normal thing. Whenever we start doing certain kind of things, we always try to see that actually we can display it with a out of box kind of thinking, finding the missing piece. Okay, when you just talk about the missing pieces, you can just see that how better it can be done or taken it. So the discovery part is actually talking about our journey, which took us as the world from Coimbatore to innovation hubs of Stanford Design School and IDEO pioneers in human-centered innovations. Then we discovered design thinking, not just a tool but a mindset, a structured human-focused process to turn problems into possibilities. That is how we just thought of how this can be classified or taken into various kind of prospects and aspects. So when we talk about those kind of things, you can just see that visually imagining each piece and each mind, how these can be transferred or other kind of things can be done. So you just see about how the particular culture is actually going to be innovated. At SNS design thinking, we just have 5 stages wherein we empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. We are engineered to have common sense systematically. Every challenge was approached from a human perspective, whether it was improving students' learning, enhancing faculty development, or redesigning the particular thing. So when you just talk about that thing, you need to actually tell about how the particular culture is actually being brought about. So building a culture as such. But a process alone is not enough. It needs a culture to sustain. That's where the 3P culture comes. It is nothing but 3P culture is nothing but it is actually a process, purpose, and people. So all these kind of things are actually being taken for one particular axis. So which is actually called as process, purpose, and people. We define a clear purpose behind every action, build strong processes through design thinking, and most importantly, empowered our people. So the heart of SNS, when these three connect, innovation becomes a life of way new life. Then empowering the people. Empowering the people actually happens when we just talk about our strength. Every human mind is actually powerful when it becomes perfectly aligned with the strength kind of factor. Our people are our strength. We focus on three competencies which are actually called as attitude, skill, and knowledge. Curiosity, accountability, and growth mindset is actually required for a attitude kind of thing. Skills are actually nothing but logical thinking and business understanding. So we just need to see how the particular things can be evolved or taken for this particular aspect. Deep technical expertise and innovation happens when there is these three overlapping. That's the SNS formula for success. So let us see how the particular things are actually taken for a non-commodity kind of section. Building common sense systematically, not just a buzzword, it became a SNS foundation for innovation. A repeatable human-focused process to crack tough challenges, and visual idea, diagrams of design thinking process, empathizing the define, ideate, and prototype, and then testing kind of things were actually brought into the minimum culture of organization. Creating a culture for innovation, that is how the particular process, purpose, and people, and visualizing the ideas came into it. And the people's equation. The people's equation, as I told you, it actually comes with attitude, skill, and knowledge as such. Then we have the 5-pillar growth activity. The 5-pillar growth activity is actually nothing but it's actually built on a complete system. Life. So let us just, we are actually talking about the 5-pillar growth activities. We actually built a complete system for lifelong learning, wherein the 5-pillar activities are for growth, learning, creativity, personal career growth, development, social responsibility, and industry partnership. These 5 pillars creates a full cycle of growth from individual learning to the real world industry impact. For every initiative from the classroom to the community programs is connected with this kind of ecosystem. You can just see how the particular things are formatted and these kind of things are to be accelerated. So system that divides or drives this particular thing are actually thought about as 5 pillar growth activities. A complete system for lifelong learning is actually to be provided. Learning with real world impact. Learning with real world impact is something but we need to actually see how the particular things can be practically practiced with a skill or practical skills that matter. So focus on real world learning, not theory, but just about how the particular situation can be operated and taken into the gestion. So we just talked about the 5 pillar activity and let us just see how the system keeps on going or running. So behind the accelerator, this is what is called as accelerator, wherein the total kind of things are being taken. So at SNS we use OKRs, objectives and key results, to set our big goals, which is actually SMART goals from actionable steps and even gamification to keep the motivation high. This makes progressive, visible and fun a living, breathing system of continuous improvement. The accelerator. At now the SNS we actually have a big leap for artificial intelligence. At SNS AI is not replacing people, it's accelerating their potential. We use AI for personalized career roadmaps, custom learning materials and real world kind of connectivity through global partnership, which is just like a jet fuel supercharging our innovation engine to reach new heights. So let us see how the particular things are being talked about with the superlative kind of thing. So at last, so we just can see that the frustration to innovation is actually a SNS journey, a journey where purpose meets process and people drive progress, where design thinking and AI come together to create a future ready generation. So thank you very much for your time and let us see in the next class.